welcome back, guys. Okay, as the title may or may not explain to you properly, this video is it's a little talk about migraines. The reason I want to do this is because if this can help anybody that suffers with migraines, or help anybody that lives with somebody that suffers with migraines, help them understand a little better, then job done. Okay, so it's gonna go without saying, I suffer with migraines. I always have. I have a neurologist for this. It's with migraines, they're all hideous, okay, and they kind of, but there's a big spectrum as well, from like here all the way to here. And disclaimer, I'm not medically trained, but I feel like I have a lot of information to give, having suffered a very long time with all different types of migraine. And you know, doctors obviously have helped me a lot in the past, but I want to pass some of that information to you. But I feel like I'm qualified to be telling you everything I'm telling you now. Okay. So as I'm saying, they're kind of from here to here. And you cannot compare one person's migraine to the next person. Migraines are debilitating. People that say, I've got a bit of a migraine. Do you know that phrase, that saying, when I hear people say it really pisses me off. You don't have a bit of a migraine. That would be nice, to have a bit of a migraine. If you have a migraine, you have a migraine. Okay? Now, whether you're on this end of the spectrum or this end with them, as in, does it go from pretty debilitating to completely debilitating, you're still never a bit of a migraine. Okay? So let's just get that bit straight right now. Migraines don't get enough recognition for just how debilitating they are. I've lost so many jobs through my migraines. Missed out on so many opportunities because of my migraines. If you're suffering yourself, it can, and now it hasn't for me, thankfully, it can drive you to the point of being suicidal. It is, the pain can be that bad, and it can go on for days. That's another thing. If you're living with somebody, your partner or your child, and yes, children can get migraines too, that has a migraine, or you're the boss of somebody who has migraines, and you think, are they taking the mick? They said they had a migraine. Because I've had situations where I've called in sick, and I'm like, and there's no warning, you know. I mean, sometimes there is, but on this particular instance, it was not a new job, but you know, I'd never had a migraine in this particular job. I'd had to ring up in the morning, woke up with the migraines. I mean, I can't, just that phone call in itself is killing me to speak. It's just killing me. Everything. I can't even tell you. I can't, unless you suffer, I can't explain to you the level of pain and just exactly how hard making a phone call is when you're in the middle of a migraine. So then when you have to call the next day sick, and possibly the day after that, and you get an attitude from your boss or whoever you're talking to, and because they say, didn't you have a migraine yesterday? Didn't you have a migraine? Yeah, migraines last for a good 3 to 5 days sometimes. They last that long. And there's like a hangover effect. And actually, that's the reason I don't drink. So many people have said to me, why don't you drink? Like, do you have a problem? Like, did you drink too much at one point? No. I mean, when I was in college, yeah, I drank too much. Who didn't? No, my migraines got progressively worse, and it's just not worth. I can literally just be very sensible, have a glass of wine, guarantee I will have a migraine the next day, starting that night, whatever. I'm not talking about hangover now, I'm talking about a migraine. Now, whether the hangover triggers the migraine, I don't know, but it shouldn't even be a hangover. I can't tolerate alcohol. My brain can't deal with it. It doesn't matter. I've tried one beer, I've tried spritzers, I've tried just a teeny bit of, I will still get a migraine. So I just don't drink. That's why I don't drink alcohol. What I want to get across is just how debilitating they are, and that also, if you are watching this video, you're not alone. From the pain to the isolation to feeling like a fraud, there's so many parts to it, like, because people don't understand migraines. It is a neurological disorder. It's not a headache, okay? A headache is a symptom of a migraine. Some people get migraines and don't even have a headache. Some people get migraines and they never feel any pain, but they could lose their vision. Now, if you have your type of migraine, and your migraines are always very personal to you, mine certainly are to me. Mine have evolved over the years. When I was younger, no babe, come through, it's fine. She's just bringing me a drink in. When I was younger, I had the very typical, my sight, sorry, I've taken part of your seat away. My vision would go, you know, if you have those where you get the aura, yeah, I would get the wishy-washy, the flickery lights, and then my sight would go for like 10 minutes or whatever, and then the pain would kick in. And the first time it happened, wow, it was frightening. I thought I was having a brain hemorrhage. I didn't know what was going on because I wasn't in pain. You know when you look at the sun and then you look away and then you get those spots in your eyes? It kind of starts like that, but then eventually you can't see. You're blind. Not blind as in everything's black, but you see zigzags, and if you close your eyes, it's even worse. It's like, I can't explain it. You can't see. The room spins. You feel like throwing up sometimes. Fortunately for me, I don't get that part, but I do have a friend who does, and she suffers. Like, she said to me, it's like when you lay in bed when you're really drunk and the room's spinning, and she has to ground herself by touching the walls. It might sound familiar to some of you, by just holding on to the walls to try and ground herself. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? That's horrible. So the first time for me, yeah, this happened. My sight went. I didn't have any headache. I ran straight. Well, I didn't run. Somebody drove me straight to A&E because I'm freaking out because I can't see anything. I'm not in pain. By the time I got to A&E, the sight had started to return, not completely, and I was in a lot of pain. So then they kind of went from that to I would get no aura, so the aura doesn't come now. The sight sometimes goes, but not the same way it used to. So now it's just the pain. I have mine. Lately I'm suffering a lot more than usual. And here's the thing, anything can trigger them, and everything. So they can be triggered by time of the month, hormonal imbalances if you're a girl. So for me, it's every cycle I'm going to get a migraine. That's right now, that's how my migraines are working. So for those 3 days leading up to, of my cycle and after, I will have a migraine. Now bear in mind, I've told you it takes me 3 days to have that migraine. And then you've got to recover from it. You are light sensitive, you are sound sensitive, you are everything sensitive. Everything hurts, and I'll say it just one more time without sounding condescending. A migraine is not a headache. It is a neurological disorder. The pain, the headache, that is just a symptom of your migraine, okay? Or the migraine of the person that's having it. And they can change and they can evolve. So if that happens, try not to freak out. Always tell your doctor. Always go to your doctor if they change. Always, always, always. But mine have evolved over the years. They've gone different. I've had nausea. But right now I'm at extreme pain with mine. Now, I surpassed all the over-the-counter remedies a long time ago, like Migraine and things like that. I'm a real trooper on the triptans, so if you know anything about triptans and migraines, and you know triptans, you have somatropin, rizatriptan. I take rizatriptan. Somatropin didn't work. It did work for me, but it put me in a strange mood, and that's another thing. If you're on a medication, and if you don't know anything about triptans, sorry, just let me backtrack a minute. They're not actually a painkiller. It does something to the blood vessels. There's a wasp that's distracted me, I'm really sorry. It does something to the blood vessels in your brain, in your body. I'm not quite sure how they work, but it's not an analgesic, as far as I'm aware. So, because I have taken, when I've had a migraine, I've been in hospitalized 3 times with my migraines. 3 times hospitalized, collapsed. They've been that bad. And I've been given morphine, Gasoner, codeine, Oromorph, and it didn't touch the pain. I was just in agony because you're then in hospital. There's nothing they can really do. There's nothing they can do for you. It's horrible because you're then in if you're fortunate enough to be not sat in A&E, which is even worse, and you're on a bed, which I was rushed through. They did an MRI. They wanted to know what was going on with me. I knew it was a migraine. I'm balled up, and cluster headaches too. I also get different thing. I also get debilitating. I'm balled up. To this day, I don't actually know whether that was a cluster headache or a migraine. It could have been either or. They did query it, and I did see the neurology department. The lighting in hospital. So if you've got a migraine, the last place you want to be is in a hospital or a doctor's waiting room with those lights on you. I can't tell you the pain. The pain for somebody, even just to sit in a room at home with the curtains open, is hell. Everything is hell. I don't even know if I'm getting this across properly or enough. I suppose if anybody is watching this and suffers, like I said, I'm not medically trained whatsoever. I've just suffered for a really, really long time. And unfortunately, my eldest son also suffers, and he loses his feeling and his everything down one side. His motility. He can't speak. It looks like he's had a stroke. And that's his migraine. And he throws up, and he's on medication, and it can be hereditary, not always, you know. I've got 4 kids and only one of them, touch wood, has migraines. What I'm trying to put across, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to drop me an inbox or leave something in the comments. Don't feel like you're alone or you're exaggerating, because it's such a lonely place to be. It's so lonely, people not understanding, or, you know, losing jobs, having people think that you're exaggerating. It's just awful. It is just awful, and there is help out there, and you need to get yourself that proper help and get yourself on the right medication. For me, triptans work for me. Not always, not 100%, but better than any painkiller has worked for me. They do work. I've tried all sorts. I couldn't ever give any advice on what anybody should take, because like I said, I'm not medically trained, and everybody's very different, and you need to see your doctor. But if you're watching this and you know someone that has a migraine, just try and not spread the word, but try and understand next time someone you know who genuinely has migraines. I'm not talking about those people that say, I've got a bit of a migraine. And you know when someone's lying. If you have a migraine, you are out. You are finished. You are in bed, in the dark room. You're finished, okay? You're not online shopping. You're not typing on Facebook. No. Maybe on the hangover phase of your migraine, on maybe day 2 or 3, is when you can kind of start to get back to social media and getting yourself a drink and just doing normal things for yourself. But usually if you're having a proper migraine, the first day you're fit for nothing. So try and be more understanding. If you know someone, if your girlfriend, if your husband, if your wife, your child, if someone is suffering, an employee, try and think back to this video if you've seen it, because it really, truly, honestly needs to be spoke about more. It's awful. It's hellish, and it has driven people to suicide. Not just because of the pain, but partly because of the lack of understanding about it too. It makes you feel useless when you lose jobs, because, especially if you get a migraine on top of another migraine, just think you've just lost a good 2 weeks of your life. Try and explain that to people that don't understand that migraine's not just a bad headache. Get yourself to the doctor if you're suffering. Keep pushing the doctors if what you're taking isn't working, if they're getting more frequent, if they're changing. Get yourself to the doctors. Know you're not alone. Anytime anybody can ask me any questions, can send me a message, just do it. Like I said, it is such a lonely place to be, suffering with migraines. And that was all I really wanted to say on this. If anybody's searching, hopefully I've put all the right words in case anybody's searching for some information on migraines. This will be of any help whatsoever. But if you've come across it by accident, just bear in mind, and tell a friend. You know, migraines, they're not a joke. They're not a joke, and they're not just a headache. Okay, on that depressing note, I'm gonna go. I just felt like I really had to put this out there. Spread the word, share the love, be kind to people with migraines, be kind to everyone anyway. Oh my god, I sound like Jerry Springer. Seriously though, just, you know, bear it in mind. Bye guys.